Good evening, Los Angeles. Just 3 days ago, the life of another Black American was changed forever. In a vicious act of violence, James Blake did not seek to become a headline. His children did not ask to witness a horrific shooting. And yet, again, that is what happened. None of us wanted to see this again, just as none of us wanted to see the murder of George Floyd, or learn of the killing of Breonna Taylor, or the lynching of Ahmaud Arbery. To have to mourn their deaths, to have to say their names in this tragedy. But we must not become numb to the names, numb to the numbers, and numb to the necessary work that each one of these incidents represents for all of us to do. At this inflection point in our nation's history, it is the duty, both as public servants and as everyday citizens, to speak up and to act out, to do something, to ensure that lives are saved and that we change the course of our country. Oftentimes, change comes from a combination of smart, just steps within government, sustained peaceful protest across our communities of everyday Americans, and righteous demonstrations that pressure policymakers to act, to change the systems that have existed for far too long. A few hours ago, our beloved Los Angeles Lakers joined the Milwaukee Bucks, who led, and teams across the NBA, deciding that now was not the time, not the night, to tip off a playoff game. They walked off the court and they issued a clear demand. The same call heard from Kenosha to Minneapolis, Louisville to right here in Los Angeles, that we confront our history, that we commit to ending the legacy of racial injustice in America, not in a month, not in a year, not next season, but right now. We know that legacy of Black Americans, too often denied their rights by the laws of our land, denied opportunity in housing and in lending, in education, denied some of the basics of safety by the gun or the badge or the knee pushed on their necks. And in refusing to play, these players, these athletes across the country are reminding all of us of our solemn duty as citizens to never stop fighting for equity and fairness for Black Americans, for our communities of color, for everyone who's felt the painful sting of subjugation. I was so moved last night listening to my dear friend, the words of Clippers coach Doc Rivers, who said, "It's amazing to me why we keep loving this country and this country does not love us back." All we're asking is that you live up to the Constitution. That's all we're asking for everybody. Thank you, Doc, for those words. And I'm proud to live in a city and a nation where our sports stars can serve not just as amazing athletes, but as moral examples. And tonight I call on all of us to join them, to heed their call and to recommit to the work of justice. And as mayor of Los Angeles, I want every sports fan and resident to know we hear you. We are with you. Just this Monday, we are certified of all the 8 can't wait reforms necessary to help save lives when it comes to the use of force in police departments. We will continue to stand beside you with making sure we make investments in communities that stop crime before they happen, that invests in health and wealth and in the educational opportunities of communities of color, and we will not let up. That is our founding promise in our holy documents, that all of us are created equal. Tonight I'll begin with our battle against COVID-19 with some points of progress, data that tells us that our city and our county, even in the midst of these painful days, have some bright moments, that we're headed in the right direction. And I thank you for your work. These victories are yours. From the day this virus arrived here in Los Angeles, our number one public health goal has been simple: to keep infections low enough to make sure our hospitals have the beds, the ICU beds, the equipment, and the staffing to serve patients afflicted by COVID-19 and other serious health concerns. That's remained our priority. And while we've always had scary moments that sometimes take us to the brink, we've always kept infections low enough to never be threatened in our hospital capacity. Today, 1,168 Angelenos, still a very large number, are in the hospital, but it is 1,000 fewer patients compared to 5 weeks ago, and an all-time low since we tracked these numbers in the pandemic. The county now estimates that the rate of transmission remains under 1 at 0.92. This was the same as last week, and positive news that what we're doing is working, that anytime it's under 1, we should see caseloads come down as we are seeing. Remember, when it comes to this data, we should all share a goal. I want you to feel empowered, not just to know the data, which can help inform your decisions, but that you have the power to take control back from this virus. And that goal right now is to get fewer than 100 cases per 100,000 people over a 14-day period. In other words, here in this county of 10 million people, to have fewer than 10,000 cases in a 2-week period. That's what it takes to get off the state's watch list and consider moving to the next stages of our reopening and our recovery. Right now, we are finally under 200, at 191 cases per 100,000 people. That's half as many. Sorry, to put that in perspective, we still need to, though, cut that into about half the number of cases we have today and sustain that for 2 weeks to achieve the goal that I know we all share. And while these goals may seem tough to reach, we've been at those numbers before. Yes, it was early on, but it was when we saw a bigger threat, less knowledge, and we didn't have as much adherence to social distancing and mask wearing, the cleaning of our hands and our surfaces, and the staying at home. And today we are making progress. In 5 out of the 6 critical indicators we track, they're headed in the right direction. And the 6th, which has to do with hospital bed capacity, as I mentioned, we are at our lowest numbers, and sometimes that's something that hospitals will reduce voluntarily. Our hospital inventory remains very stable. We are ready for any surge. Across the county right now with 631 available beds, 495 for acute care, and 136 in the ICU. An inventory of 1,174 available ventilators, all very strong numbers. And we have 375 ICU patients who are severely sick. This is a substantial decrease since last month, but I know for any family who has a loved one in the ICU, even 1 is too high. And our thoughts and our prayers, and more importantly, our actions to support you, are with you every single day. This progress is only possible because of what you are doing, to keep our city and its people safe. This is not the time to let up, so please don't. Even with the good news, I know the temptation is, we've seen it a couple months ago. We're doing well, it's okay, I can maybe do something I'm not supposed to. With flu season not too far off, our public health system still can face extreme pressures in a matter of weeks or months. So I want to encourage you again to start planning for a flu vaccine. The flu shots will be available in mid-September. So talk to your provider, get ready, and make sure that you don't get the flu so that we don't confuse symptoms or take up hospital beds as we confront this other pandemic with something that's preventable with a flu shot. Yesterday, our county marked a wonderful threshold, the first day since June, that fewer than 1,000 new COVID-19 cases were told to us by the county in a single day. While today was 1,642, as you know, these numbers kind of go up and down a little bit given on when the test results come back from labs. It reminds us how fragile progress can be, and we have still a total of 235,386 people who have been diagnosed positive since this started. And 666 of today's cases were in the city of LA, bringing the city's total caseload to 95,411 cases since we began. Of those 235,386 cases we've recorded in Los Angeles since March, roughly 38,000 of those are active today. So that metric, active cases, matters to us because it tells us that only about 17% of people who have had COVID have it right now. That means many others, over 197,000, are not currently infectious. Of course, most tragically, that includes those who have died, but the overwhelming majority are people who have gotten well. And we know that there are people experiencing long-term symptoms, as I mentioned before. We're still learning about those folks. And as we shared, there have been data backlogs and issues, but these numbers tell an important story. And I want those with lingering symptoms to know that we see you, we know what you are going through. This is a devastating virus. Never forget that. If it doesn't kill you, it can leave you with long-term damage. And many people still don't know that they have it, which is why it's been so important for us to continue to have testing, including those without symptoms. And like the governor, I very strongly disagree with what the CDC put out saying that there should not be testing of people without symptoms. 30% of the cases we have caught have been precisely because we were the first big city to offer widespread non-symptom testing for people who didn't exhibit symptoms, but we were able to catch them. Knowing that 10% of people spread 70 to 80% of the cases, often it's those silent spreaders that have done the most damage. And we will not stop providing tests for those who don't have symptoms, but that we can catch and save lives. The county also today reported 58 new deaths. And I'm sorry to report those. I'm sorry for the families that have lost somebody. And now the total is 5,663 in Los Angeles County, 19 of those new deaths here in our City of Angels. But here's the bottom line through all of this. The data shows us that what we're doing is working. What you're doing is having an effect. But we're not out of the woods. COVID-19 is still here and it's still extremely dangerous, so we need to keep following those protocols. Don't let up with our vigilance. With our R so close to 1, it can easily start tipping the other way and going back up. So, keep being very careful. Get tested if you think you've been exposed. If you have any doubt at all, consult a doctor for an appointment or schedule a test at a community health center, at one of the county, state, or city sites. And at city sites this week, we have the capacity to test 18,500 people a day. We've seen the demand come down a little bit, but as we saw in the past, sometimes that can ramp back up quickly. So we're going to keep that capacity going. And as of today, 2.2 million people, more than 1 in 5 people in Los Angeles County, have been tested. And our 7-day positivity rate is between 5 and 6%. That's a welcome number and one of the lowest numbers we've seen in months. About 83% of the city's tests that we've done through our drive-through and walk-up centers are unique patients. People often ask, is it just the same people taking tests over and over and over? But 83% have had just one test, which means that a quarter of the city's residents in the city of LA have now been tested. And we continue to be proactive, sending mobile teams to you, not waiting for those who can't drive to a drive-through center or don't have a convenient walk-up site. Today, we have mobile testing sites that are at the corner of Cesar Chavez and Soto. Over the next 2 days, we are bringing testing to the Weingart East LA YMCA and the Weingart YMCA Wellness Center in South LA. And remember, tests are free for anybody with or without symptoms. So if you think you've been exposed or you're an essential worker, you work in a high-risk environment, get a test. And to find one of these more than 100 testing locations, as always, call us at 311 or go to our website at coronavirus.lacity.org/testing. And as always, too, if you get a call from the county public health contact tracing team, we need you to answer that phone. That is a critical phone call to save lives in Los Angeles. A short conversation with a contact tracer will help keep you safe and save lives. And testing and tracing are critical tools in our fight to maintain the momentum that we have, as well as wearing a mask, washing our hands and our surfaces, keeping a distance, and of course, staying at home. And as you get ready for Labor Day weekend, this is not a Labor Day weekend, unfortunately, that will be full of celebrations. You need to cancel all plans for gatherings, and let's make sure that we keep our eye on the prize of getting under 100 cases per 10,000 people over 100,000 people over a 14-day period. We've changed so much about our daily lives to stay safe and healthy. The way we gather, the way we eat, the way we travel. And while your city government has never stopped providing the services that you demand and need, we are making major adjustments to the way we deliver those services to ensure they continue to be safe and reliable and accessible, both in a pandemic and post-pandemic. And I want to share that exciting news with you tonight. Tonight, I have signed an executive directive to transform how Angelenos interact with their government. The city will make city services contactless and digital wherever possible. Ensure you can do all business with existing and newly created agencies on the internet. This directive is a critical step to not only modernize government, but to keep us safe as we open up city services, or the city services that have stayed open and that you depend on don't put you at risk. We're laying the groundwork for a universal login to city services, so the same password will let you pay your water bill and allow you to have contactless pickup at a local library. We're ending the days of keeping track with 1,000 different accounts and 1,000 different passwords, beginning with rolling out a beta version of our LABAVN page for those 56,000 Angelenos who do business with the city. And in the next few weeks, stay tuned for how you can get started yourself to streamline the way you tap into your government's services, guaranteed to you as a taxpayer. We're starting with this transformation immediately by establishing a contactless task force with leaders across city departments to lead this transition for systems including payment, direct assistance, public counter, permit, and library services, as well as program enrollment. So whether it's a young person who might live in your household who was part of our summer programs at our rec and parks facilities to safely have a place to go so that you could work, whether it's checking out those books that are available contactless, or whether it's paying one of your city bills, no Angeleno should have to wait in line. No Angeleno should have herself exposed to COVID-19 unnecessarily. And you should just be able to click a button. Getting city service should be smooth and easy and efficient as everything you do online. So this is about saving time and money. This is about keeping you safe and healthy. And this is about increasing the quality and reimagination of the service you get from city government. As Angelenos continue making changes to keep our cities safe, we're doing everything we can to support them. So we were the first city to enact tenant protections for both residential and commercial tenants. We froze rents on all 624,000 rent-stabilized units and launched the largest rental assistance program in the country, money that will roll out this month. And as the state considers additional protections, I want Angelenos to remember that all of our local protections remain in place. Today, our City Council, led by City Council President Nury Martinez and his Council Member Mitch O'Farrell, put forward a motion to provide $10 million for Emergency Eviction Defense Fund, building on the work that we are doing to make sure that people can have a lawyer if they face eviction proceedings in court. This will help all of our legal nonprofits, help our tenants assert their legal rights to avoid an eviction that I signed into law on May 7th. Also back in May, I announced, along with City Attorney Mike Feuer, LA Represents, which will go hand in hand with this initiative, an unprecedented initiative to provide free legal services to help vulnerable renters, seniors, survivors of domestic violence, and low-income families and workers. For these folks, legal assistance is literally the bridge between ruin and recovery, between homelessness and hopefulness. And tonight I can announce that since launching LA Represents, 32 law firms that I want to thank tonight, I can't name them all, but you know who you are, 3 more legal aid organizations, and a dozen bar associations have joined this coalition to provide free legal representation for Angelenos facing COVID-19 related hardships. These pro bono lawyers will handle many cases in the months ahead, build on the work of the staff attorneys at legal aid organizations, and unlike other pro bono initiatives, LA Represents also is helping small businesses as well as individuals. And so far, more than 100 small businesses have availed themselves of this great program. We know that you need help. We are listening to you, and we are providing those basic services to stand up for the rights that you have. And we will continue doing that throughout this pandemic. As we face this together, we also are looking at the help that many of our nonprofits are providing. And the small businesses that were assisted were helped by volunteers and advocates at Betzedek Legal Services, who I want to publicly thank tonight. So if you're a resident or small business owner who needs some legal support, visit our website at coronavirus.lacity.org/LARepresents. And thank you again for the City Council's action. I also want to thank the City Council today for taking action to expand the reach of the LA Regional COVID Recovery Fund. It's a fancy title to our help for small businesses. This is a partnership that we established with Los Angeles County, working hand in glove, voting to allocate this day an additional $40 million to deliver grant resources to micro-entrepreneurs, such as sidewalk vendors and small businesses, restaurants, nonprofits that are struggling. Round 4 of this will open on August 31st. As you'll remember, in past press conferences, I've said that we will have multiple rounds whenever we get that money. And anyone needing assistance can apply for these funds and call our business source centers, either through 311 or go to our city's Economic Workforce and Development Department at ewdd.lacity.org. I began tonight with some of the heroes of today, people who are using their voices to speak up and speak out for the rights of all of us. And I will close also with some heroes who began the work of justice long ago. Today is Women's Equality Day, marking a century since the 19th Amendment gave many women in the United States the right to vote. We know that not all women 100 years ago got that right, that they still had to fight for it in too many communities where the language that they spoke or the color of their skin kept them disenfranchised. But it was the beginning of the march towards equality for all women in this country. The achievement arrived on the shoulders of organizers and activists, teachers and tavern keepers, students and saleswomen who gathered in union halls and marched down city thoroughfares to demand an equal share of their democracy. Ratification of that change to our Constitution wasn't the end of the struggle, and many women who fought for this died before they could exercise that right. It didn't do away with racism or discrimination or sexism or disenfranchisement, or erase the centuries of cruel inequities that came before, inequities that we know all too well. But it was a feat of extraordinary courage by everyday people that inspire us today, a point of progress and a source of strength that spans generations. Tonight we will light up City Hall in purple and in gold to mark this day. I think it's fitting on a day, too, that the Lakers decided to take a pass on a playoff game to stand up for rights, on a week where we remember Kobe Bryant. These colors are part of our city's history and part of our nation's history. And as we face the profound challenges of this moment, I hope that you will draw strength from that history, that progress is never easy, that saving lives and pushing forward our rights doesn't come at no cost. But this is why we are here, and this is what we are called to. So every day, keep up that work. Lead with love and with commitment, with the resilience and the courage you have shown, and with the caring for those of us that are suffering still today. We will get through this together, so stay safe and stay healthy, and whenever possible, continue to stay at home. Thank you, Los Angeles. And with that, I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. And our first question will come from Claudia Peschiutta. Please go ahead.
Hi, Claudia.
Thanks. I have a couple of questions. After another fatal shooting at a party house, I'm wondering if you're planning to do anything further to crack down on party houses, any more utility shutoff plans, or anything else. And then my second question is regarding the COVID cases and deaths among homeless people. I know the reported numbers are relatively low compared to the general population, but I just find it hard to believe that we have enough data on this. It's odd that cases among homeless people have been showing increases in recent weeks while the county's overall numbers have been going down. I'm wondering if you think the clearing of encampments and the closing of emergency shelters are perhaps playing a role here, and if you're planning to do anything in response to the increases.
Sure,
Thank you.
No, I'll start with the second one. Thank you, Claudia. No, I mean, our beds have overall expanded. I want to be clear on that narrative. So we're adding more beds than any people that are deciding to leave. And I want to be also clear that people decide to leave those shelters. They're not pushed out of them. So we've more than made up for those beds. So we don't believe that's a part of it. The numbers still are lower for people experiencing homelessness, and something like deaths is not something that the statistics would underreport, because through the county coroner's office we get 100% of those deaths, and those still remain lower. So the mortality rate slightly lower among people who are experiencing homelessness than those who are housed. And overall, still the positivity rate is very low. We do proactive testing all the time on the streets. We've put tens of thousands of masks out there, and it's about a 1% positivity rate on the testing that we're doing among Angelenos experiencing homelessness. So we still feel confident that we've been able to keep those numbers low, but we will stay vigilant, and absolutely, even as we saw numbers coming down everywhere, we know that some of the overall positives are coming down even on the streets, but those numbers have been always quite low. In terms of the party house enforcement, I'll say a couple things. The order, I think, and the messaging are clearly working. There have been many fewer large parties. We count these things. And most that we hear about are now with one visit from the police breaking up. Airbnb shut down 30 homes that were being used for parties in Los Angeles. We had 13 complaints last weekend. None of them are as egregious as the ones we saw a couple weeks ago. And so we've seen fewer people at them, even though obviously there are more than are supposed to be there. Our goal is to shut down these gatherings, not to shut off people's utilities. And we always respect due process in that. So that is the very last thing that after a whole series of not listening, not knowing, not being encouraged and taking the advice that we rely on, and we've only still had to do that with one. There may be ones in the future, but so far we're feeling good. And I'll look further into I wasn't aware of the specific case that you're talking about of another shooting. That happens in Los Angeles. That has happened in Los Angeles. But overall, we feel those numbers have absolutely been coming down, and we think the message has been received. And then I was given some data. There's been 85 positive cases of the 7,500 tests that we've done among people who are experiencing homelessness. So it really stays low, and I'll try to get you what the recent weeks have been, but I believe in the last 2 weeks, it's still been that same percentage, a little bit over 1%, 1.5%. Thanks, Claudia. Next question, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Joel Pollack. Please go ahead.
Hey, Joel, how you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to ask about the Green New Deal in Los Angeles. Earlier this year, you talked about the city abandoning plans to rebuild 3 natural gas power plants. And last week we saw Governor Gavin Newsom say that California needed to, quote, sober up about alternative energy, about renewable energy on the way to transition to the state's goal by 2045 of 100% renewables. Have you given any thought to reconsidering the fate of those 3 natural gas power plants, given the blackouts in other parts of California and what the governor has said?
No, and to everybody who's lucky enough to live with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, we've been able to keep that power on. Obviously, we have some of the normal blackouts that come from heat, but not because of capacity. I think Governor Newsom's right. You have to sober up, but that doesn't mean let up. I think his point, and the point I would certainly make, is that transition is absolutely necessary to save our Earth. Look at the fires that are raging in this state. If we don't see the connection to climate change, ask a firefighter if this climate crisis is real. They know that, and we've already lost firefighters just in this season's firefighting. But you have to do it the right way, and I'm confident Los Angeles City is doing that. For instance, the largest solar development deal ever for solar power in American history at the cheapest price also is the largest battery storage, so that we do have that sort of storage on moments when we need to surge that. We're looking at the conversion. We are converting our largest plant, which is a coal plant, to be a turbine plant. Everybody thought that would run on natural gas initially, and it primarily will, but we think when we open it up, a good portion of that will be hydrogen, which has 0 emissions, and maybe over time we can ramp that up to the majority or even all of that, using things like wind power and solar power. When the wind's blowing and the sun's out and we don't need as much, we can store that extra capacity by converting it into hydrogen. So absolutely we have to sober up and do it the right way, but I'm glad Los Angeles is. So absolutely not letting up, not going backwards. I think this will be a decade, the climate decade, where we either act, it's too late to reverse the damage we've done, but it is not too late to mitigate it. And unless we want to see every year getting worse and worse, to see the people choking on smoke, seeing firefighters die, to see the rise of seas which threaten neighborhoods right here in Southern California, we need to keep pushing forward. Thanks, Joel. All right, well, thank you. That's the questions for tonight. I'm going to switch to Spanish. As always, thank you all for being with us. Appreciate all that you are doing, and keep up the work. Strength and love to each one of you. Muy buenas tardes, Los Ángeles. Hace 3 días, otro acto de violencia le cambió la vida para siempre a otra persona afroamericana en nuestro país. Jacob Blake no quiso aparecer en las noticias así, y sus hijas no tenían que ser testigos de tal violencia contra su padre. Y nuestro país no quería ver esto otra vez. En este momento es nuestra responsabilidad como miembros de la raza humana expresarse y tomar acción para impulsar el cambio. Y hace unas horas, los basquetbolistas de los Lakers, los Bucks de Milwaukee, y equipos de toda la Liga NBA decidieron que este no era el momento de jugar el comienzo de las eliminatorias. Demandan que enfrentamos nuestra historia y que nos comprometemos a acabar con el legado de injusticia racial en nuestro país, no en el futuro, sino ahora. Como alcalde de la ciudad de Los Ángeles, quiero que todos los fanáticos de deportes y residentes sepan que estamos con ustedes. Y continuaremos con ustedes en la lucha por un país que cumpla con la promesa de que todos somos iguales. Todos. Esta noche empiezo con el progreso que estamos haciendo para luchar contra el COVID-19. Los datos indican que estamos avanzando en buena dirección. Hoy hay 1,168 angelinos en el hospital. Hace 5 semanas había 1,000 personas más. Este es el nivel más bajo que hemos visto desde el principio de la pandemia. Y estamos con las familias que tienen miembros de sus familias en los hospitales. Queremos el número 0, pero este número es buenas noticias, progreso. El condado ahora estima que la tasa de infección está al 0.92, lo mismo que la semana pasada. Esto significa que si seguimos en este camino, podemos controlar este virus. Tenemos 191 casos por cada 100,000 personas. Recuerda que nuestra meta es lograr menos de 100 casos por 100,000 personas durante 2 semanas. Esto es lo que debemos lograr para salir de la lista de alerta del estado para avanzar a la próxima fase de reapertura. El inventario en nuestros hospitales es muy fuerte y a través del condado hay 631 camas disponibles, incluyendo 495 camas de cuidados agudos y 136 camas en unidades de cuidado intensivos. Y también un inventario de 1,174 ventiladores. Y tenemos 375 pacientes quienes están seriamente enfermos, una gran reducción del mes pasado. Sus acciones han resultado en este progreso, pero tenemos que seguir adelante. El virus sigue presente y la época de la gripe está a punto de empezar. Por eso les recomiendo que piensen en cómo pueden recibir sus vacunas contra la gripe que se empezarán a ofrecer a mediados de septiembre. Ayer, el condado marcó el primer día desde junio reportando menos de 1,000 casos nuevos. Este es excelente. Hoy tuvimos 1,642 nuevas infecciones, llegando a un total de 235,386 casos. Y 666 de estos casos están en la ciudad de Los Ángeles, llegando a un total de 95,411 casos en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Sin embargo, entre ellos solamente 38,156 de estos casos están activos. Significa que el 17% de personas con COVID en Los Ángeles han resultado positivos en las últimas 3 semanas. Y muchos otros se han recuperado o desafortunadamente han fallecido o siguen con síntomas a largo plazo. Hemos visto personas que tienen síntomas que no desaparecen y que pueden ser devastadores durante semanas y meses después de que ya no son contagiosos. Este virus es terrible y aun si eres joven y con buena salud, si no lo mata, puede cambiar su vida para siempre. El condado también reportó 58 fallecidos, una tragedia, llegando a un total de 5,663. Entre ellos, 19 están en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. En nuestros sitios de prueba, esta semana tenemos la capacidad de hacerle la prueba a más de 18,500,000 personas cada día. En el condado, 2.2 millones de personas se han hecho la prueba y la tasa de resultados positivos está entre el 5 y 6%, un nivel más bajo en estas semanas pasadas. Y seguimos desplegando equipos móviles a comunidades por toda la ciudad donde hay una necesidad inmediata para pruebas de detección para asegurar que todos puedan recibir una. Hoy tenemos equipos en la esquina de César Chávez y Soto, y en los 2 próximos días estarán en el YMCA de Weingart, en el este de Los Ángeles, y el Centro de Bienestar Weingart YMCA en el sur de Los Ángeles. Las pruebas son gratis para todos sin o con síntomas, pero priorizamos a la gente que tiene síntomas o que creen que han sido expuestos o son trabajadores esenciales o trabajan en sitios de alto riesgo. Visita nuestro sitio web para encontrar una cita y hacerte la prueba, coronavirus.lacity.org/testing, o llámanos a 311. Y recuerde que si nuestro equipo de rastreo de contactos del condado lo llama, por favor, responda a la llamada. Y le darán una tarjeta de regalo de $20 por completar a la entrevista. Hablar con uno de nuestros rastreadores de contactos puede salvar vidas de su familia, nuestra comunidad y nuestra ciudad. Tanto ha cambiado en la manera que vivimos nuestras vidas cotidianas, y tu ciudad está mejorando la manera en que brindamos los servicios municipales para asegurar que sean accesibles y seguros. Hoy estoy anunciando una nueva directiva ejecutiva para transformar cómo los angelinos interactúan con su gobierno local para ofrecer nuestros servicios, con brindar servicios sin requerir contacto con otra persona, donde sea posible, y asegurar que puedan completar sus asuntos con nuestros departamentos y agencias por Internet. Además, estamos estableciendo una plataforma que permite acceso a todos los servicios municipales con un solo nombre de usuario y contraseña. Así, con la misma cuenta podrá pagar su factura de agua y recoger un libro sin contacto de su biblioteca. Ya hemos lanzado la versión beta de esta plataforma con los 56,000 usuarios accediendo nuestros servicios de contratación, y en unas semanas verán más opciones disponibles para más servicios. Estamos empezando esta transformación inmediatamente con establecer un equipo de representantes de cada departamento de la ciudad para avanzar este trabajo y proteger su salud. Y además estamos haciendo todo lo posible para apoyar a nuestros residentes. Fuimos la primera ciudad para implementar una moratoria de desalojos para inquilinos y congelamos la renta para 624,000 viviendas y lanzamos el programa más grande de apoyo para renta en el país. Mientras el Estado considera protecciones adicionales, les recuerdo que nuestras protecciones locales siguen en vigor. En mayo, yo anuncié el programa LA Represents, que ofrece servicios legales gratis para personas vulnerables en varios temas a causa de COVID-19. Esta ayuda legal es muy importante. Este programa ha crecido con 30 nuevos bufetes de abogados, 3 organizaciones de ayuda legal y una docena de asociaciones de abogados que se han unido al programa. Este programa apoya a las pequeñas empresas que en este momento necesitan ayuda legal para navegar sus nuevas reglas, renegociar rentas comerciales, solicitar préstamos y cumplir con las órdenes de protección de salud. Más de 100 negocios pequeños han recibido ayuda y agradezco al equipo de servicios legales de Beth-Zedeck para su ayuda y a todos estos angelinos. Para unirse a este programa o si necesita ayuda legal, visita coronavirus.lacity.org/LA Represents. Además, hemos tomado acción para ayudar a nuestras familias vulnerables. Hoy nuestro Consejo Municipal tomó acción para apoyar a familias. pidiéndole a nuestro Departamento de Parque y Recreo que diseñen un programa utilizando los centros de recreo como centros de aprendizaje alternativo. Y tendremos más información de este en los próximos días. Pero el mensaje es este: necesitamos más ayuda para nuestras familias, más asistencia para nuestros negocios, más dinero para los inquilinos, más representación por toda la gente. Este es una parte de nuestra visión, pero necesitamos la ayuda también del gobierno federal. Y mi mensaje a la Casa Blanca y el Congreso en esta próxima semana: pasa la legislación y los fondos que necesitamos. Hoy celebramos el Día de la Igualdad para las mujeres y marcamos un siglo desde que la enmienda 19 dio a muchas mujeres en los Estados Unidos el derecho de voto. Ese logro fue fruto de trabajo de organizadoras y activistas, maestras, estudiantes y muchas otras que se reunieron y marcharon por las calles de las ciudades para exigir una parte igual de nuestra democracia. Tomemos inspiración de estos líderes ahora, mientras avanzamos en estos momentos difíciles. Lograremos esto juntos. Quédense protegidos y quédense en buena salud. Y, como siempre, quédense en casa. Fuerza y amor a Los Ángeles. Y gracias. Hasta pronto. Thanks, everybody.